the heartbeat of creation itself. Now her children return, calling her name again. Say Alkebulan, Alkebulan, the mother of life, the mother of life, where the sun first shines, where the sun first shines. Rise again, Alkebulan, rise again, Alkebulan. Hey! Oh, Alkebulan, Alkebulan, Alkebulan. Our ancient home, your children are calling, we're coming home. Oh, Alkebulan, the world must know you gave birth to the light, let your glory show. They changed your name to hide your fame. They broke the chains but kept the game. Divided your children with borders and lies, but truth never dies, it only multiplies. We are the sons and daughters of your soil, still rising strong from the years of toil. They took our name, but not our soul. Alkebulan still makes the broken whole. Say Alkebulan, Alkebulan, the mother of life, the mother of life, where the sun first shines, where the sun first shines. Rise again, Alkebulan, rise again, Alkebulan. Oh, oh, Alkebulan, cradle divine, mother of kings, the first bloodline. Oh, Alkebulan, spirit of grace, we're reclaiming your name, we're finding our place. No longer shall we live in shame, forgetting our truth, our holy name. From the Nile to the ocean wide, your story flows, it cannot hide. From Kush to Kemet, glory untold, black and beautiful, strong and bold. They took our gold, they took our flame, but Alkebulan lives beyond the pain.
Hey,
they called you Africa.
It's not a dance
you
song. It's a
I know, but
you are the doorway the world was born
through.
The spirit of time, the rhythm of life.
We dance even in funerals.
Our home, our right. Alkebulan, Alkebulan, the mother of life, the mother of man. Oh,
oh, my sister will always be holding me accountable. Oladele, you're muted. You're muted with your profound words. You're muted, my brother.
We can't hear.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I was just going with the flow, man. Mama K was listening to the words, so yeah, they were deep. Okay, greetings, everybody. Welcome to another Alkebulan Awakening Series in collaboration with Kumbukeni. My name, as always, is Oladile Dosumu. I'm the founder of the Emerging Alkebulan, and you know why we're here: to decolonize the minds and awaken the consciousness of those Africans who are still sleeping and still believe in the cognitive dissonance of the Western rubbish. Excuse my language. Nduku.
You're coming with a certain spirit today, I see. The name is Nduku. I'm the host on Kumbukeni. This is a collaboration with my brother. We're not in competition, we're in collaboration so that we can build power. So an effort to build a media movement that is going to counter the attacks that have come upon our people and our motherland for years, and finally tell our story ourselves. And I'm excited about today's conversation because we haven't been with my sister for a long time. So yes.
Yeah, as you can all see, our big sister,
Yes.
Honorable Dr. Khanyisile Litchfield Tsabalala. Welcome, my sister. I know you don't like introducing yourself.
I know. Why you gotta do that honorable thing to her?
Because she is. We're talking about honorable. when we're talking about honorable, she's one of the honorables out of these people. So she is one honorable.
Oh, very excellent and honorable of you. Go on, Mama Khanyisile.
Thank you, Emerging Alkebulan, and thank you, Kumbukeni. Yes, it's been a long time since we've had a conversation, and I think it is timely that we have one now on transforming, or actually revolutionizing, the global financial and political architecture.
Fantastic.
I am so happy to be here. And hi to all my sisters and brothers who have tuned in from South Africa.
Thank you very much. Okay, the topic today we're going to be talking about, basically, my sisters, basically, when it comes to illicit tax flows and how money is being siphoned out of Africa. Mama K is basically an expert because she's been at this work for years. So she knows what she's talking about because she's been following and tracking all these things. So today, we're going to focus on that because a lot of us talk about corruption and we don't know the in-depth of how corruption works. We focus on our politicians, but we don't know about the corporations that are actually complicit and even worse than our politicians. We never talk about them. We talk about what they tell us, the propaganda, but we never look deep to how these things happen. So today we're going to go to that. And the topic today is how we can transform the global financial and political architecture. What must change? Mama K, it's up to you.
Oh, I think before we talk about what must change, we actually need to say what is the global political and financial architecture? What are we talking about? Well, for everyone who's tuned in, once we have used the word global, we are talking about the world. And once we have used political, it means we are talking about governance. So we are talking about global governance or world governance. And once we use the word economic, it means we are talking about global monies at country level and economies. So I want us to separate two things. I want us to put the UN on one side alone, the United Nations alone, because it is a global political architecture. And then we must put what I have called sideshows, who see themselves as lobby groups, even if that's not what they say, but internally they see themselves as lobby groups, whose intention is to influence the United Nations. Now, let's start with the sideshows. The OECD, Organization for Economic Development and Cooperation, or it had a different word, but I think they tweaked just one word to make it OECD. It's almost the same name. They tweaked one word out of it, which influenced the alphabet, and it became OECD. It was formed after the Second World War to rebuild Europe. Now, I don't know, because the foundation of a thing does not change. I don't know the African countries, South Africa being one, who are members of the OECD, what are we rebuilding? But in Ndugu, you can do me a favor as I speak and just check the African countries. And I think your country is this, when I think Nigeria is too.
In the G20?
No, OECD.
OECD, okay.
Member states of the OECD, because that is one of the sideshows. Because we said it's Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, so it would be part of the global economic architecture, because the OECD tries to influence global economics, global trade policy, global taxation, global trade. So that's the OECD. We are going to come to them. Remember, I said, they were formed after the Second World War. For those who are very poor in history, that was 1945 when the Second World War ended. To rebuild Europe, I underline, that's OECD. Now, you had the G8, Russia was part of it. They kicked Russia out because they think that Russia is committing acts of aggression and it is not furthering the aims of Western foreign policies. So they became the G7. But they expanded that now to be the G20, South Africa being the only African country in the G20. Another sideshow. The G20 is also concerned with economics, primarily. Well, they deal with other things like topical issues like climate, they will include. But, I mean, it's the big economies. So they are there to protect their economies and the economy. And then you have NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which the rest of the former communist countries in Eastern Europe are killing themselves to be members of, which is what has led to the Russia-Ukraine war, because Ukraine wants to be a NATO member, and NATO has done nothing in the world than perpetuate the agenda of what we call the military-industrial complex. What does that mean? They sell war. War is a business. Now, when former Eastern European communist countries want to be members of NATO, they are threatening Russia, but they are also threatening China, though in Asia, but I mean, it's a region, it's there. And then you have the World Trade Organization, WTO. Again, for me, another sideshow that's dealing with trade.
Headed by Nigerian Okonjo-Iweala. So yeah.
Thank you. You have the Bilderberg meeting, which is not so popularly known, who used to meet every 4 years. Bilderberg is a town in the Netherlands. They started meeting in 1954. That's why it incurred the name the Bilderberg meeting. Now they meet annually. It's a secret meeting. They don't keep minutes. How they remember the things they've discussed, only the devil knows. But they don't keep minutes. But investigative journalists have cracked in the last 10 to 15 years, maybe, the agendas. And the agendas is everything politics, everything war, everything economics, everything architecture, everything culture. The agenda is life as we know it. But who meets in the Bilderberg meeting? It's all captains of industry of multinational companies. It is presidents of Europe and, or let's say West, presidents of the West, because when we say West, we mean your traditional Western Europe. We mean North America, that's Canada and US. We mean Australia, we mean New Zealand. Obviously, with the fall of communism now, they have added Eastern European countries. It is the royal families of Europe. The papacy attends also. They have their own special seat there. All these people, captains of the war industry, all these people getting together in one room. You can just imagine, excluding who? Blackness. Africa is not represented in the Bilderberg meeting. Some parts of Asia are represented on specific topics. So those are the side shows. Then you have the UN. Let's talk about the UN quickly before I give it back to you in the studio. Remember, for someone who's tuning in now, we are defining what exactly we mean by the global financial and economic architecture. The UN was formed in 1948, also after the Second World War. To do what? As a world governing body. To do what? To prevent wars from happening. To do what? To protect smaller states from the aggression of larger states. Now, the UN has got two legs, the Security Council and the General Assembly. The Security Council is formed of 5 countries, the USA, Britain, France, and then China and Soviet Union, then Russia now. Just a very quick red line. You are not expecting, if you're tuning in now, for France, for the UK, and for the USA to vote differently in the Security Council. They vote together, which means even from the word go, nothing passes through as long as the 3 are not interested, because they will just veto it. So China and Russia tries to fight the battle in the Security Council. They are losing it because of this extra vote, which is on lopsided to Western Europe. Now, we'll come to reforming. We are just defining what these things are. Then you have the General Assembly, where every country which is a member state of the United Nations is represented at one country, one vote. There, my brother and my sister, is what we are talking about when we talk about the global political and financial architecture. And then you have the continental bodies. We have the AU. It's supposed to be part of the global financial architecture. When we talk about transforming, we shall see why the AU is not pulling its weight in this global financial and economic architecture. Whether it is by design or default, we'll come to it when we come to how do we transform and why do we need transformation. So I think I'll give it back to the studio.
Yeah, we're both busy writing.
I know.
That's fine.
No, quickly touch on that. The AU pulling its weight. Was it ever meant to pull weight, or is it pulling the weight it was meant to pull?
Okay, let's start here. The OECD, for instance, you were checking for us which African countries as a signatory.
There is none.
It's only South Africa, and they're not members, they're partners.
They are partners. All right. You pay at the OECD. No, we are not talking G20, we are talking OECD.
Yep, no African nations as members.
You pay to be whether partner or member. It's not a free ride. Now, these are rich countries. They can afford it. G20 is not a free ride. The Bilderberg meeting is not a free ride. But these people have the money. That's why we say poverty is a curse. So they can use their money to supplement these side shows, which is what I call side shows, so that they are lobby groups to influence the Security Council, to influence those three Western countries, which is the UK, USA, and France, so that whatever in the end is decided on security-wise favors the West, their pressure groups. Now we have the UN. Again, it's not a free ride. We pay our dues. Now let's come to the AU. It's not a free ride. How must it function? How must it function? It's a body created for continental governance. So it is our, we are talking about the world global and financial architecture. The AU is our continental-wide financial and economic architecture. It's supposed to make sure that states like Rwanda and Uganda don't own M23 and invade Eastern DRC and harvest rare minerals that we use for this high tech on behalf of white monopoly capital. That's where the AU is supposed to be coming in. It's supposed to be coming in Boko Haram, attacking and abducting a misogynistic organization reigning terror in Northern Europe. The AU is supposed to be doing something. But supposed to be doing something in Sudan. It's supposed to have done something even when North Sudan was colonizing the so-called South Sudan now. It's hard for me to say South Sudan because I think they should have the patent. They should be Sudan and the other ones should be called North. That's besides the point. How will the AU do that? It requires funding. Now, who should fund the AU? Member states. Now, if you keep our countries not owning their natural resources, if you keep our countries as suppliers of raw materials and importers of the finished product, if you keep our countries' economies dollarized, depending on the dollar, where America can threaten you and decide, I'm not attending the G20, but I will be the president next year, and I will nullify whatever else was decided this year. It's just 1 year. Now, how are we going to do that if we are all these things, depending on Forex, depending on the dollar, being the lesser and Johnny come lately members of neoliberalism, because it's a global system, it's neoliberalism. Only North Korea and a few other countries are not in it. So how then are our members going to contribute to the AU truly? I look at countries like Burundi. What must they do? What must they prioritize? Paying salaries to civil servants or paying their dues at the AU? Some of these things are genuine problems. It is not because countries are refusing to. But if you have a whole EU, which is supposed to be a continental political and economic architecture for Europe, if you have that funding the AU, it means you're already having an undue influence of European interests at the AU. You understand? And they must fund because there is a funding gap, because our economies are not all equal, and we are all, as countries, not pulling our weight, some by default, some by design. So, the AU, are they supposed to be pulling their weight? Yes. Is it a good initiative by African member states? Of course. Look at the founding spirit and principles as was espoused by our late patriots like Kwame Nkrumah. Of course. But in Ndugu, everything falls at economics. Everything falls at money. And currently, that's a conversation we need to have about the AU. So, yeah, I think I'll give it back again. I hope I answered that about the AU. supposed to, but in capitalism, that's not me. They have a slogan of economics where they say money talks and bullshit walks.
Yeah. Also, it was founded by great men, and every time Kwame, and I'm careful, right? Because I've been seeing Kwame Nkrumah being used a lot in spaces, and I always want to remind people that none of us is perfect. And Kwame Nkrumah was taught in the Western education, and he had some whiteness, or at least white ways of thinking about him, right? But also the AU, as much as the origin, and by the way, it wasn't the AU originally, it was the OAU,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
why change the name? And we know what's happening in that time. There's two factions, one that supports moving ahead as
The Casablanca group
right?
and the Moravian group.
Right? And one that's saying, okay, no, let's keep the
Go
white
slow.
people still, let's work with them, they're good people and all that. But then it's co-opted. It's co-opted, Mama Khanyisile. So we can't even compliment it for how it was founded, because now it is a thing that is infected and no longer serves us, right? It is no longer for us. And so it cannot pull its weight because it is meant to serve those who serve it by financing it. Yeah. Oladile, I don't know if you have a question as I put this.
Yeah, but my thoughts is based on what you're saying there now. Okay, so we've established that the AU is dysfunctional. It doesn't serve Africans because over the years we can see that they, like you said, there's so much conflict in Africa, and I never see AU say anything to support the so-called member countries. So in terms of the institutions that's meant to help Africa do what it's supposed to do, where do we go from here? Because AU is useless.
I think let's start by saying let's start globally and then come to the continent.
Okay.
So we have given two institutions that sit side by side. You have the UN on one end, where at the General Assembly, not Security Council, all countries who are member states are represented, and it is one country, one vote. You have the side shows on this side. The Security Council, for me, of the UN is also a side show, by the way. Now, how do we transform it? Because when we talk that transformation, we're going to come to your question, Oladile, about the AU. Now, let's start here. The UN is very easy to transform. We need to lobby not for inclusion, African presidents and African governments. We need to fight for the abolition of the Security Council because it becomes a white boys exclusive club. Why have a Security Council of 5 countries when you have a General Assembly of all countries? I have been answered before. They say, oh, but those ones deal with security. No. Bring security to the General Assembly. Have a commission. This is a representation of the world, all countries. So have a commission that will look at security commissioned by the General Assembly and let it report to the General Assembly. I forgot to put a disclaimer. I'm not a big fan of the UN, by the way, because of its track record in Africa. But having said that, it's the only body we have now where all countries globally have one country, one vote. So I'll work with what it is at the moment. But I don't want to work with it as it has a Security Council. That must go. Everything must come to the assembly. That's how we transform the UN. And how else do we transform the UN to? The countries that have reaped undue benefits in the form of slavery, in the form of colonization, in the form of neo-colonization, the ones who are ripping off our minds right now. And I say countries because those multinational corporations represent those countries. I mean, if you touch BP, you are touching the UK. If you are touching Shell, we are touching the Netherlands. We know to which countries these companies belong. So those people who have had undue benefit, taxing the wealthy, those who have accrued and accumulated wealth, by violating human rights, whether through slavery or colonization or neo-colonization, are the ones who should be paying more at the UN. If Burundi cannot afford its fees at the UN, whoever colonized Burundi is supposed to pay for their country and pay for Burundi too. We are transforming the UN. We are giving the UN so much money that it has the latitude to act, but it will not act willy-nilly because every decision will be taken here at one country, one vote. That's the UN. The side shows, how do we transform them? You can't transform that which was not yours. The OECD was not formed for anybody except to rebuild Europe. So African countries boycott, get out. We must fight for its abolition and sidelining. G20, it's big economies, therefore, so what? Contribute to the UN so that we see how big your economy is. Get out of the OECD. Why do you want side shows? Doesn't make sense to me. The only reason you have a side show is to undermine the actual show. Yep. Unless you are supplementing, then you are not a side show. Then you are a startup artist for the actual artist. These are side shows to undermine what the UN is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Which is why now, okay, let's first finish here. Let me stay in the flow. All of them abolish, including the Bilderberg meeting, the World Trade Organization, just kill, come to the General Assembly. Why am I saying so? The OECD has to date been the organization that was making tax laws for the world. Who has those tax laws favored? West Europe, through their multinational cooperations. That is why Africa is losing, we are told, I don't even want to say the states because they change all the time, you know. At a certain point, we shall be told Africa is losing $90 billion annually from non-tax payment. But we know that's an underestimation. We know South Africa is losing 90 billion rands annually from non-tax payment. But we also know that's an undercalculation. Who has been making those laws? The OECD. Do they have a right to make tax laws for the globe? Who's the OECD? The OECD is not the UN. There is no one country, one vote there. It is Western countries protecting themselves by protecting their own multinationals. Now, historically, for the first time 2 years ago, they're called the Africa Group, came together and lobbied the General Assembly. The Global South joined them and forced what we call the United Nations Tax Convention to be passed. Do you know who opposed it? Do you know who abstained? For me, abstention is as good as opposing.
The United States.
Not alone.
Oh, China.
Most of the G20 member states.
Wow.
Yes. They are the ones who opposed it. And the OECD, because it's the same member states. Why? They want tax to be a sideshow so that we can continue feeding their economies at the expense of taking our minerals for cheap, not even paying tax adequately. Why is the African state making more money out of pay-as-you-earn than from corporate tax to date? And the largest emission, so we call it illicit financial flows, the money that leaves because of tax evasion, price misinvoicing, profit shifting, we call it illicit financial flows. Now, for the first time, that landmark African unity came together and we forced the United Nations Tax Convention. These people said no. South Africa, the whole of the August meetings, because passing the resolution 2 years ago is just the beginning. The work must now go on in drafting the resolution. And obviously, these countries that abstained are going to put challenges every step of the way. So we need Africa together to be giving us all their technical expertise to make sure we draft the resolution in our favor. What did we do as South Africa? We missed all the August meetings of the United Nations Tax Convention, something in the General Assembly. One country, one vote. We missed all the November meetings. What was our excuse? We are busy with the G20. Wait.
So was that intentional? Was that intentional?
90 billion rands annually, and that's an undercalculation from tax evasion. It's not important. The G20 is more important.
Wow.
So I rest my case. So transformation, eradicate everything on my right. This side shows. I've said how we can transform the UN. Can we put all our eggs in the one basket, the United Nations Tax Convention. Oh, before I give it back to you quickly, the OECD has got something they call the two-pillar framework that they say that's how taxation should be worked out in the world. They're trying to impose it on countries, and we have adopted it. That one, by the way, Nduku, you need to check. It's not just South Africa who adopted the two-pillar process, even if we are not full OECD members. A lot of African countries, maybe 10 or 11, just check them, have adopted the two-pillar framework. What does it say? It talks about colonialism, truly. It talks about the jurisdiction and the source. What does that mean for people who are listening? South Africa, in terms of gold, is a source. Who's the jurisdiction? Britain, because that's where it gets taken to for melting, whatever, then it comes back as a finished product. So the first pillar of the OECD is saying a larger part of the tax must be paid at the jurisdiction of the company, not at the source. Can you tell me about justice? Where's the justice there? Where should a bulk of taxation of South African gold be paid at in South Africa? Not at the jurisdiction where Anglo-American has its headquarters. And these headquarters are in their mother countries, obviously. The OECD is saying that's okay. Some of those member states are the ones in the G22, by the way. What does Pillar 2 say? They want us to put a cut-off of 15% for taxing multinationals doing business in our countries. Do they have a cut-off for Payers UN? How much is Payers UN sitting at, Oladele? Please check. I'm thinking there are people who even pay 40% of their salary in terms of Payers UN, if I'm not wrong. No, we want multinationals, the richest. Cut off, it must be sitting at 15%. Are you kidding me? And we are signatories to that. And we are prioritizing the OECD over the UN Tax Convention, where we can draft the laws to suit us for the first time to make sure these people pay a fair taxation. So that's why I'm saying abolish on the right. Put our eggs here. But the UN must also transform, abolish the Security Council. It truly should be a place of one country, one vote. I think I'll give it back. I've talked so much, sorry.
Yeah, my sister, because all these things is just tied to the illicit tax flows. All this is because it's basically a circumvention in terms of how they can basically take money out illegally. And that's basically what we've got all these systems, all these institutions in place. They basically put those institutions there to basically make themselves do what they're supposed to do. And like you said, it's no coincidence that we have these institutions. Can you let people know the enormity of the illicit tax flows that's going in Africa? Because a lot of people, when we put the information out there, people don't understand how deep this is. Because we tend to focus on our politicians, but we don't focus on the multinationals.
But before you do that, this was signed in 2021, the two-pillar, what did you call it? Two-pillar framework. And
of the OECD.
A lot of African countries, Namibia, Burkina Faso, that's right before Traore comes on as the president. Congo, Democratic Republican of Congo, Egypt, Botswana, Benin, a lot of African countries. Haiti has signed it. What business does Haiti have to sign it?
South Africa signed it.
A lot of African nations.
Yeah, no. Just check if Nigeria is there, because Nigeria, there was a time where they said, we are not in favor, we are not signing.
No, they're not. Nigeria is not there because it's Namibia, Netherlands. So Nigeria is not there. Let me see if my puppet of a master is. Kenya is not there. I wonder why. Oh, this is interesting. Kenya is not there. Yep.
Yeah. So
South Africa.
I even sent a question to our Minister of Finance since I joined, and I said, are we going to get out of the OECD and concentrate on the UN Tax Convention? And the answer I got was, what for? The two processes can go together. Like how? The OECD's aim is to ensure, as my brother Oladele said, that illicit financial flows keep happening. We actually have another name for them, Oladele. We call them capital flight or base erosion. Yes. Because that money is eroding the economic base we're supposed to have. Yes. The OECD exists to protect Western economies. How are you telling me that process and the one of the UN Tax Convention are going to go simultaneously together? How? That's like calling a rapist to come and help you draft tougher laws on rape. How are they going to do it? How's that going to pan out? So anyway, illicit financial flows, Oladele, happens in 3 ways. You have criminal, which we are always going to struggle with because some people just want easy life and they think that criminality is a way of life. Or direct government corruption. We are talking Africa, so let's say direct African government corruption, or what we call corporate crimes. Now, criminality is easy. It's your money laundering, arms smuggling, a direct African government corruption, also very easy. It's what they are stealing, what our governments are stealing. Corporate crimes, I've alluded to it. It's price misinvoicing. What do we mean by price misinvoicing? Meaning, when Lonmin was asked to raise salaries to 12,500 by mine workers, if that salary was going to be 12,500 in those years, it was already peanuts. But Lonmin said, sorry, we really do not have the money. If we raise salaries to 12.5, we're going to go under. And they show their books. What Lonmin was not showing is how much have we siphoned out in terms of profit transfer out of South Africa that we are not declaring. We are only giving you this because we've cooked our books. Profit sharing, exactly that. You are transferring your profits because they will tell you, okay, me, Lonmin, while I'm doing business here in South Africa with you, remember my legal department is in Virgin Islands and my logistics department is in Mauritius and my other department is there, and my HQ is in Australia. So profit sharing, what they mean now is, okay, South Africa. And remember, they're already under declaring because of price misinvoicing. So, okay, South Africa, we have actually made 1 billion profit, but remember, 30% is going to our legal department. We must pay our lawyers. 20% must go to our logistics. This percent must go to our HQ. So in the end, truly, we have just made 10%, you know. I mean, is it my problem that you are a transnational cooperation and you want to scatter yourself like that? It's designed like that in the first place so that it allows illicit financial flows. It allows lax taxation to be paid at the source. Now, this has been going on from colonialism, by the way. It has never been studied until in 2011. African foreign ministers through the AU got together and commissioned a study, and former President Thabo Mbeki became the chair of that. They called it the high-level panel, and it fell under United Nations Economic Commission under UNECA. For people who are interested, you can find it on Google. It's called the UNECA High-Level Panel Report on Illicit Financial Flows. It could not go, obviously, as far as colonialism. But I like also they put together a team of experts that really are across Africa, of accountants, of lawyers, economists, you know. They came with their report in 2015. Scary report. They studied 1980 to 2008. I like round figures, so I always say 2010. They found that in that 30 years, we talk sub-Sahara alone. I hate that term because it makes North Africans look like they own Africa alone, but it's fine. They separated Arab Africa from Black Africa, so sub-Sahara Africa alone. We lost an estimate of 1.5 US trillion in 30 years. How much have we lost since colonization? Now, but don't marvel yet. For people who are listening, don't marvel yet. Here's the marvel. The person who was presenting played a game with us and said, how much of that money do you think is direct African government corruption? I had just shouted across the room a week before as an EFF MP to Zuma to pay back the money, and it became a slogan that ballooned and ballooned and ballooned, pay back the money. So we were members of parliament from 4 countries attending this NGO meeting: South Africa, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Malawi. Okay, South Africa, yeah, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Malawi. We never gave an estimate that is less than 70% African government theft. The presenter, Tafatso was his name, quickly said, I am so sorry to burst your bubble. Direct African government corruption in that 1.5 US trillion dollars is 5%.
Wow.
Huh?
Wow.
Okay. So where's the rest of the money? No, 30% is criminal. Yeah, but the 65%, sorry guys, that's corporate crimes, illicit financial flows. Tax evasion in the form of price misinvoicing, price collusion, profit transfer, and. I ran out of that room and the conference was held in Nairobi and I cried. I'm very emotional. I wept because I said to myself, how ignorant have I been? How is it that I believed white monopoly capital media telling me Africa is not developing
Corruption.
because governments are corrupt, they steal too much? But they theft behind the curtain of white-collar criminals who are not even a conversation, as Oladele was saying.
Legalized.
Legalized. Oh, yes. Let's come to this. There is tax evasion, there's tax avoidance. Tax evasion is what we talked about. Price misinvoicing, profit shifting, price collusion, It's not a crime. I'm pausing on purpose. It's not a crime. That's 65% of 1.5 US trillion dollars. It's not a crime, Africans.
Wow.
In South Africa, we would say you just have a good Indian lawyer who cooked your books very well.
But Mama Khanyisile, let's be specific. It's not a crime if we're following their law.
Coming.
Yeah.
I'm coming. It's not a crime. The OECD wants it that way. The G20 wants it that way. It's not a crime. You are just being clever about your books. In South Africa, I would say you have a good Indian lawyer because they make very good lawyers. Now, then they have something else. They say tax avoidance. Oh, that's a big crime. You can't avoid tax. You must pay, at least even if you're paying a little. What's the difference morally? Tax evasion and tax avoidance have got the same effects on our economies. Base erosion, it erodes the economic base that's supposed to be here. Capital flight, the capital that's supposed to stay here flies out. So, according to all these lobby groups on my right that I said need to die if we are transforming the global financial and political architecture, they want to keep tax evasion the way it is. And they want to keep telling us it's only tax avoidance that is illegal. But these companies are clever about it. They will not downright avoid it. They will just evade it. Then you cannot persecute them. So, Oladele, South Africa currently, our stats are sitting at 90 billion rands annually. You know, we say in terms of illicit financial flows, the state is always under because by their nature, illicit financial flows caused by tax evasion are secretive. So to even lay your hands on the proper figure is difficult. These are estimates. So the estimate is always lower than the actual scheme. So there, I've given it to you.
You know what, sis? Sorry, Nduku. What you just said there, I was speaking to a brother probably about a year or 2 years ago. And he said to me, this guy goes around all these African countries. He has a diplomatic passport and he goes to all these different countries. And he just said to me, he said, my brother, he said, there's money. You just need to find the right places, but there is money floating around that you can do whatever you want to do as long as you tap into the right people, right connections. And you saying that makes a lot of sense. Now I can say it.
As long as you get in the mud with the pigs, it's more like it.
Yeah.
And then you spill the mud all over your people. And anyway, Mama Khanyisile, you said, and we'll get back to other main points, right? Because we're supposed to talk about the 3 types of creditors. We're supposed to talk about the leaders' declaration. But before that, you said you can't transform that which was not yours. The UN was never ours. We were never at the table when it was set up. It was not set up for us. So is it an unrealistic thought to say, let's get rid of the whole thing, including the UN. Let's not even care about so-called global economics, global politics. Let's set African politics and let them know that this is how they'll operate with us if they want to continue operating with us. Let's set our own African coming together, I'm not calling it United Nations or what, but our own African coming together, that is outside of their system, like afresh. Let's say we're out, we've realized what relationship we've had with you, you never included us, we've noticed that you're underdeveloping us intentionally, we're out. We're going to set up our own system, and we're going to give you a call when we're ready to tell you how we're going to move forward. Is that crazy to think that?
No. It's not crazy, but you are at step B. What is step A? If we were to achieve that, what should step A be? We should all be doing what the Sahel countries have done. When we talk about the Sahel countries, to first-time listeners, we are talking about Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, who together have signed a defense pact, who together are strengthening their militaries to make sure that when all else fails, they are not invaded by America and their president is killed in broad daylight like a dog, like they did to the Iraqi president, based on a false notion of weapons of mass destruction that never existed, when the actual issue was about oil, but also was about destabilizing the Middle East so that Israel can emerge. So they are strengthening their defense pact. 2, they're taking ownership of their natural or mineral resources so that they can be able to fund their own agenda. Now, Ndugu, we can't do that. The other 52 countries, for as long as we are in a neoliberal system. What do we mean by neoliberalism? Another big term. Neoliberalism is an advanced stage of capitalism. It is imperialism. It's different imperialism from when they came to classically colonize, put a colonial governor, defense soldiers, and run your country on your behalf. No, it's different, but the effects are still the same, if not worse. Neo-colonialism or neoliberalism means we shall use the economy and cultural colonization to make sure that those chartered companies, and at the end, before someone must make a note, we must talk about them, that those chartered companies like the Dutch East India Company, the Danish East India Company, the British South Africa Company, that what those companies were doing, which blossomed into full colonialism, still continues. So what then am I meaning when I say that's what neoliberalism is? Neoliberalism means, maybe I'll talk about 3 things so that we don't confuse our listeners too much, especially first-time listeners. It means open your economy. That's why it's called a free market system. What do they mean when they say open your economy? It sounds like a very nice thing. Why must you have a closed economy? Open it so that if I'm in South Africa and I want to buy oil from Morocco, I can buy it. If I want to buy something from South Korea, I can buy it. Open your economy. It sounds good. Here's the catch for Africa or the global South, some of the global South countries. We come into it when it is already neoliberalism, Africans. It is already at an advanced stage of imperialism, which has even become neoliberalism. What do I mean? I mean the transnational cooperations have formed. I was in a meeting of members of parliament. About 40 African countries came together in Joburg under African Parliamentary Network on illicit financial flows and tax. And my sister Gifty from Ghana had brought shea butter. Very nice shea butter. She, women-owned, African-made, natural components. If it is mint, it is natural mint. No lies about it. I laughed. You know why? Because she put them outside of our conference room for sale. It just so happened that Lancome, for those who do not know, it's a skin product. We're having a conference and promotion in the one opposite us. I said, Gifty, you can't compete with this. Lancome was giving out free t-shirts, free samples. The food was like 20 times better than ours. I mean, I looked at this and I was just like, okay, this is a direct example of what we mean when we say an open market system for Africa kills your local company. Gifty's shea butter cannot compare with Lancome and what are the others? One was founded, I think, by an Italian woman. What is it called?
L'Oreal.
L'Oreal. You can't. They can give freebies. They're already a transnational company level. So the minute you open your market as an African country, your small and medium business stifles. It can't, on the spot, it's on life support.
Yeah.
Because it cannot compete with this forex.
Yeah, but wait, Mama Khanyisile, we are lazy. We are lazy. We don't pull ourselves by our bootstraps. What do you mean?
How's Gifty gonna pull herself by her bootstraps? For starters, Gifty does not have a startup for this company. She doesn't have money lying around because Gifty is not a beneficiary of transgenerational health or generational health. Her parents are former slaves. She's West African. Wealth, not health. Yes. if they are not former slaves, they then fell into colonization. They then fell into neo-colonization. So what is Gifty's parents going to give her in terms of a startup for her shea butter? She needs to fund it from her salary. So,
but you
tell
have
me how if she doesn't do that, she needs to go to the bank and get a loan and take 10 years just paying for the loan before she even sees the profits of this shea butter.
No, Mama Khanyisile, you cannot keep blaming the white man, Mama Khanyisile. You know that's the response we've been getting lately. Why do we keep blaming them? Why do we keep blaming them? Please respond to that.
Okay, let me finish first. What's an open neoliberal economy? Once you do that, your local industry is on life support to dying. Secondly, because your local industry is on life support and near dying, it means you are not producing enough. You understand? Economists will tell you this. I'm not lying. If you are not producing enough, it means what are you doing, Nduku? You are importing more a finished product. If you are importing more a finished product, what do you need to import more a finished product? You need forex. Why? Because those companies, that's what they want to be paid in. They don't want your rent. What must they do with your rent? What must they do with your, what do they call the French money in West Africa? What do they do? What do they do with the currency, which is 1 to 1,000 or 1 to 2,000 to $1? They don't want that. They want the dollar, which is why we say our economies then become dollarized. Now, if that's what you're going to do, you're going to be at the mercy of these companies. You're going to be begging them to come and invest in your country, which is why our governments are always crying for foreign direct investment. They need it for the finished product. You understand? So what you asked, I'm coming back now to you. What you asked that let's abolish the UN, let's form our own thing. It will work if we start at step A. Can we take hold of our economies? Can we transform the neoliberal financial architecture? It's not transformable because it is designed to make profits for the West. Then detach from it like Traore is doing. Traore, General Goita of Mali, Colonel Chiani of Niger, start meting out your own demands, but you can only do that if you deny them access to this raw material, the source. I don't know why we beg them so much. They need us more than they need them. Go on a map now. Someone showed us this map so repeatedly, and I had thought that I'm going to ask you guys to find it. This map shows what Europe offers economically and what Africa offers economically. What they offer are finished products, insurance, manufactured goods, whatever. What do we offer? The raw material. Will they have manufactured goods without the raw material? No. So who needs one the more? They need us.
Yeah.
But because we are in a neoliberal system, we end up needing them more because we need this forex. Because we are not producing and we are shutting down our own economies in favor of theirs. So yes, Ndugu, we can abolish the UN if we copy the model that the Sahel countries are doing right now. Gaddafi was doing it. They didn't like it, which is why they killed him again like a dog. A sitting president. What crime had he committed? But we are not killing Netanyahu like a dog in the street. No, we can't do that. We are not killing Britain's presidents like dogs in the street for all the mess they left in our countries and for all the neoliberalism they are still, the extractivism they are still doing in our countries, defying human rights. We are not doing it. So I bring it back to the studio. You guys must cut in. I think I talk so much. I'm too passionate.
No, we're cutting. You're doing a great job. No. Let it flow. Today is a different type. I actually asked Oladele to, well, we'll see. Let me let that happen behind the. You're muted, my brother.
Yeah, he said to me he's going to get back to me. So yeah,
right.
We're thinking of bringing a brother on. We call him the data economist. He's got the figures.
So he'll back up what you're saying with numbers. He's been
want him to come on and back it up with numbers. So yeah, he said he's going to get back to me. He said give me a minute.
Hopefully he can come up.
So Jide, I'm putting you under pressure now. You got no choice. You listening?
Yeah, I was trying not to do that, but yes, thank you for doing that. Mama Khanyisile, asante sana for answering that question. Listen, you're talking because you have a great understanding of this, but also you have a simple way of breaking it down that we can all understand. And you have a discipline with your mind to follow what you're saying and get it complete. So this is why
I think I get sidetracked.
And I love that you have your partner next to you. When you say health, he's like wealth. So tell him thank you very much. As much as he doesn't think he's a part of this, he's very much a part of this. And this is what, again, I'll detour real quick. This is what a great relationship is, right? The man right next to her, as much as you cannot see her, is for her. And he wants her to shine. And therefore, when she steps down, he steps, Baba Tsabalala, asante. Anyway, moving on. I get distracted sometimes when I see the beauty in our people. You said we need to talk about this. There are 3 types of creditors that we owe. So let's talk about this. Private, multilateral, and bilateral.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Africa, traditionally, from when we got our so-called independence, we were indebted to what we call multilateral lenders who become our creditors. Your World Bank, your IMF. Sometimes I don't use the word multilateral. I call them the traditional creditors. Something changed through the 90s up to now, because now the multilateral, or what I call the traditional creditors, we are only owing them money amounting to 34% out of 100%. A new type of creditor has arisen to whom we are behest in Africa, called the private creditors. We owe them currently 43% of the debt owned in Africa is to private creditors. Who are they? Non-bank actors. They are investors, asset managers, whoever will not be governed through the United Nations. Ndugu. The UN cannot pass laws. And
I bet you Microsoft and Google are there. Go on.
It's their money.
Elon Musk.
Yes. If I am going to borrow you money of the Tsabalala family, Oladele cannot come in and tell me how to structure that and how to borrow you that money. And where I fail to pay it and I want to start attaching your assets, I don't care how much of a humanist and human rights activist Oladele is. He cannot convince me. It depends on my change of heart. I will have to change my heart for that debt. 43% of our debt currently as a continent is owed to private creditors. Very dangerous. But here it comes. The other 23%, is it 23? I wrote it down so I don't give people. Yes. The other 23% is owned to bilateral creditors. Again, a new phenomenon. Again, dangerous. Bilateral creditors, listen to this, Africans, are state-owned banks, which means the state-owned bank of Germany can borrow South Africa money or Burundi money. Who's going to interfere there? It's a bilateral agreement. It means sovereign governments. It means China can borrow Zambia money. Who's going to interfere? And they have, by the way. Part of Zambia's debt default also had a lot to do with that. Who's going to interfere? Government agencies. An agency of a foreign government will borrow an African government money. Guys, are we for real? And then there are countries. Oh, I was given these countries in their order in terms of the bilateral. To which countries do we owe money in this 23%? China, followed by France, followed by Saudi Arabia, followed by other. This I didn't write this. Followed by other G20 member states like Japan, Germany, Italy. Hello, guys. What does the declaration that we are praising President Cyril Ramaphosa for yesterday? What did it say about debt? We acknowledge the high rising debt. No, I almost used an insulting
word. Nothing against it.
Because it pisses other people off. Screw that. So that I don't use the harder term. Screw that. You are telling me we acknowledge the rising debt. We know that. That's like telling me that there is no summer rain in Cape Town. I know that. I've lived here before. You are telling me, oh, it is summer in Johannesburg in December. Like, who do you think you are dealing with? A fool. I know that. We don't want them to say that we acknowledge the rising debt. They are there. That 23%, if Ramaphosa had achieved anything with this G20, it was supposed to be scrapped yesterday in that declaration, if they really mean business. It's up to them. I'm not talking the bilateral. I'm not even touching the multilateral or traditional, the IMF, the World Bank. I'm talking the countries that were there. They could have scrapped it. Don't tell us we acknowledge the rising debt. We know that we are the ones who are owing that debt. We are the ones who are bearing the brunt of so much rand. That someone has calculated it. Check it, Oladele. How much of every rand, how many cents of every rand in South Africa go for debt servicing? It's like that for all your countries. You need to check how many cents in 1 shilling goes for debt servicing. You understand it's not debt payment, it's just servicing the interest.
Yeah, some countries go to about 70-80%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So if there was really something remarkable with this G20, we should have had in the declaration, this and this and this and this country has scrapped the debt of this and this and this and that country. Don't come and tell us you acknowledge. What are you acknowledging? It's like you telling me, oh, Khanyisile, I've just realized that you are a woman. I know that. I've been living as a woman for 63 years.
But,
what are you telling me?
But Mama Khanyisile, there's a problem with us mentally. I mean, we know what it is. There's a problem with us mentally for going there to expect them to do the right thing when we know they're doing this intentionally. So wouldn't it, for those of us who actually are serious about revolution, right? Wouldn't it be better to plan a situation where we end up having representatives of our people who eventually walk in that space and say, we are declaring you criminals because we have evidence that you've done this. Moving forward, we as a collective of African nations will not be paying this debt. This debt is null and void. In fact, you owe us this. And this is how we're going to be moving forward. If we are going to remain a part of the UN, the Security Council and the nations that have oppressed and exploited Africa will be paying for all 54 nations of Africa.
Yeah.
You know what, Marke, before you go to that, can you tie reparative justice into that, please?
Oh, yeah.
That's another bullshit term, but go on.
Oh, I had a meeting at the women's jail. It was used as a women's jail. Now maybe we refer to it as the old women's jail in Johannesburg on Thursday under Action Aid with what is called Young Urban Women. That Action Aid is supporting, I think, in 4 or 5 countries, South Africa being one of them. And the topic I was given to speak to these young urban women about was how neoliberalism itemizes or individualizes us as a country, as a people, as a person. And the first thing that came to my mind was, let's look at justice. I asked these young urban women, if I had to ask the Minister of Justice in South Africa today, is it justice that young boys are raped in prison? and initiated into forced homosexuality. I said to them, if I had to ask the Minister of Justice, and you are that Minister of Justice, so answer me as that Minister of Justice of South Africa. And I said to them, if I were to ask you again as a Minister of Justice in South Africa, is it okay that we are spending millions? Some people have put it at 700 million. I'm not sure that's the right figure. That's why I'm putting a disclaimer, but I know it's millions of rands on the G20, which is not even lawmaking body. If you were the Minister of Justice and I asked you, is that justice when there are families in South Africa who cannot afford black tea, no milk, no sugar, just black tea? When you have load shedding, listen to this, load shedding and water shedding at OR Tambo. No electricity at the airport, no water at the airport. You're hosting the G20 and spending money on it, okay? I said, if you're the minister and I asked you this, I forget that question I asked them. But it had to do with gender-based violence. And I said, if you were the Minister of Justice and I asked you, is it justice that police people in South Africa are killed in a police station at point blank range? For a military person like me, if you say point blank range is when the gun is here and I'm shooting you. And I said to them, how would the minister answer? Listen to this. They said, oh, they will give you some political hogwash. I said, yeah, but I want to know, break it down. What will they say? I could see they're struggling. I then said to them, remember, we're talking about how neoliberalism individualizes and itemizes. I said to them, do we have a separate minister of correctional services as to the one in justice? Do you know, they plain straight told me no. I thought, in which country do you live? Of course, there are two ministers there. I said to them, do you have a separate minister of police as we have to that of justice? Again, these young people said no. I'm thinking, okay, guys, is it ignorance or what is going on here? Or is it your mind refusing to itemize justice to that extent, where you as a citizen, you are seeing the holistic repercussions of this, and your mind is refusing to itemize it and break it because justice is a holistic concept. Now, Oladele, I'm coming back to what you had asked. Neoliberalism individualizes us so much that in the end, as countries, we are surviving for ourselves. That's why we call it the race to the bottom. Yeah. Because let's start with the individual. One of those women there said, at the end of the month, it is my rent that must be paid. It is my child's school fees. Otherwise, I am getting evicted. You understand? And it's a reality. Burundi will tell you at the end of the day, I am the struggling economy. If France wants a kickback, and they're not doing it, I'm making an example. If France wants to invest and want a tax break, what do we mean by tax break? Not paying, that company is not paying tax for the next 5 years, but they will create 200 jobs. We will agree because it is our people who are protesting and are poor and do not have jobs. Neoliberalism is itemizing, it is dividing us and leaving us all at life support, surviving as individuals first within our nations, surviving as individual families, surviving as individual countries. So, Ndugu, everything you say should happen in terms of this transformation. Yes, it should, but it will not happen under a neoliberal system. It won't, because it's designed exactly to do that, to keep you feeling and thinking, I'm bogged down with this alone.
Yeah. So the message is more for our people.
Ask the question.
Yeah.
But you ask the question.
Yeah.
What are we the ones who are mad to have gone to the G20 expecting, I would say, a big resounding yes, which is why we protested against the G20 as a political party. Because we understood that whatever is going to come out of there, it is not going to be for the benefit of poor people in South Africa and also the whole continent of Africa. And I mean, we have seen this declaration and we've given an example of why we don't agree with the statement they're issuing on debt. They're telling us what we have been knowing for how many years now?
Yeah.
How many centuries now? We have known that we are vassal economies. We have known this. Don't tell us what we know. Tell us what you're going to do about it. That's not what the declaration is saying.
Yeah,
So,
look at
yes,
the,
Ndugu, I agree. It is our madness that makes us go into these bodies, expecting that we shall come out with a different outcome. I've always said that's like going into, and my husband taught me this because I passed through a stage where I was trying to amend things. And my husband is like, listen here, you can't belong to a Catholic church
no.
as a Presbyterian, and then you want to start infringing Catholicism to Presbyterians. If that's what you want, go join a Presbyterian church. Leave the Catholics alone. They've defined who they are. They have their own way of operating. But you can't think you're going to bring Presbyterianism into a Catholic church. So I hope that answers you.
That's a great.
I
That's a
took a
great.
long route about that.
No,
Yes, okay.
take the route where it takes you. So, Oladele, go if you have. I had something to
The
say, but it
silence.
just
So
disappeared.
Yeah, what I wrote down here.
Oh, quickly, Oladele. Sorry. In Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Niger, it's the people who pushed for the end of neocolonialism, and then the leaders, the men who stood up to serve or to answer the call of the people, stepped in, right? So, what do you say to African people? Like, do we need to wait for these neoliberal leaders, or do we need to follow the path of the Burkina people?
Good question.
okay, Oladele also just typed the question and asked me, am I at liberty to disclose the political party? Of course I am. I just didn't want to turn your platform into what they say it's party.
No. But I wanted to make sure, yeah, that's why it was put there. I want to make sure that you specify what party it is, because we need to know when these entities are working for us. So if you're at liberty to say it, please say and loudly and clearly what party that is in South Africa that
It
did that.
is Umkhonto Wesizwe Political Party. We are abbreviated as MKP. Yes, and our slogan is Gwaza Mkhonto. Stab, because Umkhonto is a spear. So pierce through spear. No. I joined the protest yesterday at Nazareth where the meeting is happening. Because we just knew that it's the amount of money we are spending in the G20 does not justify where our economic status is. You know, in that young urban meeting, in that young urban women's meeting at the women's jail on Thursday, my heart broke. I felt pain for young African women in this country telling me their lot, telling me how they are locked in a daily struggle for survival. You know, we even came to a point where we said, we now understand what Bob Marley meant when he said, some people have hopes and dreams, some people have means and ways. I think Ramaphosa is a hopes and dreams person together with all those who surround him. They live in Sentin, where there's no water, they can go and buy bottled water. They have substitutes, they have options, hopes and dreams. The people who bear the brunt of whatever was spent in the G20, either borrowed, because maybe that will still come out where that money came from. I wouldn't be shocked if we took a loan to do that, or we took it from wherever, I don't know where, because we've been saying the state has no money.
Social services.
Yeah, thank you. So we have spent less on education or on health so that we can spend more on the G20.
Yeah.
The people who bear the brunt are these young women who are telling me, listen here, doctor, when I wake up in the morning, I don't have time to think illicit financial flows. I don't have time to think neoliberalism. You've just explained it to us and we understand it. When I wake up in the morning, I am locked in a daily struggle for survival, means and ways. I need to think, where's the cup of tea going to come from? Once I've had the tea, where's the plate going to come from? That was lunch. Where's supper going to come from? If I can even afford eating 2 meals a day on that day. And they said, and listen, we are African women. We are not just struggling for ourselves. That's not a question we are asking for us. We are asking it also for our children, and sometimes for our sisters' kids and our cousins' kids and our cousins' cousins of parents who have departed, and suddenly I have inherited this. So, hope it answers.
But to our people, wouldn't it be better to stop that way of living where you can't even think of whether your way of living is good or not? You're just in this cycle of robotic movement of survival. Like, to my people, honestly, let's pause for a minute. wana Ubuntu, Africans, Black people. Do you not want this to end? Like, do you not want this to end? And the way this can end is, again, look at the Burkina people, the Malian people. Let's come together. The United States, African and Black people, African people in the United States have a blackout that's coming soon. No job, no going to work, no shopping, no, there's a list of what we're going to do for, I think, 4 days or a whole week. No going to work is included. Why would you go to work as a Black person if that is what the community has decided? Like, I get it. I get the answer of, I need to pay my bills, I won't have a job. But don't you want this system of exploitation to stop? Like, what sacrifice are we willing to do to stop our exploitation? That's for our people to sit with. Go on, Oladile.
So let's start here, Nduku. I am not even talking about women who are employed here. Listen to the stats. Look at how much, and I'm hoping that figure will come out one day as an official government stat. They need to tell us how much they spent on the G20, because currently we are speculating we are saying 700 million. That's not government confirmed. Now, listen to the stat, my sister. You shook your head too early. Unemployment rates for ages 15 to 34 in South Africa are 46.1% in the second quarter of 2025. Though other reports put the figure higher, around 58.1 to 59.7 for different age groups. Now, is South Africa not one of the big economies in Africa? If that's youth unemployment in South Africa, what is youth unemployment in Africa? That's why you are seeing West African youth preferring to die in the Mediterranean, trying to swim to Europe to get a better life. So, to come back to your question, Ndugu, I wasn't even talking about those who are employed. But to answer you on behalf of those who are employed, it's easy to take out Khanyisile's head. It's easy to take out Adele's head. It's easy to take out Pila Sande's head. It's easy to take out Tsabalala's head. It is not easy to take out the heads of 1 million people. That's why Kwame Nkrumah told us, guys, unity is unite. The death of us. That which you just talked about now, if it is done en masse, it will win. You see, in the 80s, when we said as well, meaning we are not getting on those trains and going to work, we were ensuring that it is en masse. Then it has an effect. Then you can't chuck away everybody. You can't expel. My God, that's the word I was looking for. English is not our language.
It's not yours. Don't regret it.
Expel everybody. The dilemma currently, that's why the topic of that day was how neoliberalism atomizes. You know, the atom is the smallest. I didn't do physics, but it reduces us to that. Everybody is surviving for themselves. We even touched on the issue of foreigners who are in South Africa, which it shouldn't be foreigners, we should say Africans who are in South Africa. Again, it's a problem. Because how we are discussing this is missing the point. They are not here. The Zimbabweans who are not here to organize to overthrow Mnangagwa's government so that Zimbabwe can pick up and be a better country. They are all here to survive for themselves. It is me and my family. It is me and they are all here to survive. If one of the young people even said, if they were here and telling me we are here to organize to overthrow I would even join them. Because we want Mnangagwa and his government overthrown. We want that dictatorship gone so they can go home and start rebuilding. The Congolese who are here for the sake. The West Africans dying in the Mediterranean are not going to Europe to take it over en masse. They're going there to survive as individuals. That's the dilemma of how liberalism has itemized us, Ndugu. Because that young woman said, if I am the one who's starting, I'm the one losing my house. I'm the one whose child is thrown into it. I'm the one who's going to come together to make sure that I survive. And you and
I have been an example of that. We've lived that.
Yeah, we've lived that. But we were actually lucky in that we still had families who understand, who held us. Some people, when that happens, it's a divorce. Their kids become rebellious. their kids start telling them it's your fault that we are in this situation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
For me, this means organizing at a large scale.
Yeah.
That's one way. Or it means getting a Traore or a General Chiani or a Colonel Goita who will from the top transform this. That's the easier way. Because Traore takes over government and he says, from tomorrow, France, we are leaving. From tomorrow, this. So he's doing the work that should have been done at large scale, which would have taken years. He's doing it at one go. But here's another dilemma, Nduku. A lot of African defense forces, some security companies can take them on and win the war.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's another thing they've done. We are the only continent that is
mercenaries.
Spend less on defense and spend more on social services. Our defense forces are in disarray. Some of them, to even call them defense forces, an insult. They are security companies. To even call them that's an insult because some security companies can do better than them. So, the one thing I am happy that France left in its former colonies is an intact defense force. You know why? Because for a long time, France really didn't leave. They were the one training the defense force. They were the one, although they were interfering in terms of promoting their puppets, which is why the coup was necessary to bring the right person. But those defense forces are professional, intact. A lot of defense forces in the former Portuguese and former British colonies, guys, you look at these defense forces and you ask yourself, who can they even fight against? They can't fight against Luxembourg. They can't fight against Belgium. So those two approaches.
I mean, they can't fight against Al-Shabaab. Let's be. They can't fight against Al-Shabaab.
I mean, the Nigerian.
But look at Nigeria.
The Nigerian defense force cannot contend
Look at Nigeria.
with Boko Haram.
Yeah, they can't.
Rebel movement.
Yeah.
A rebel movement.
People who have like regular people who organized because of a cause, they can't fight them.
Yeah.
So imagine if Al-Shabaab was us fighting for our liberation. No, you liberals and you Americans who want to have all this nice talk. Yeah, Nduku used Al-Shabaab as the analogy. Like, yeah, because we're trying to be practical and so that you can understand. Imagine if that was a movement of Africans who said, enough with this. We realize that you're exploiting us and I'm tired of waking up to survive and living a life of just surviving and being miserable while you sit in your stupid penthouse in New York, smoking cigars and drinking and talking bullshit and abusing our children.
Oh, and taking cocaine too.
Yeah, and raping our children and you end up being president.
Okay, let's bring a different perspective in, guys. We got our brother Babajide Jenjimi. Mama K,
yes.
He's a data man. You know, we just want him to put what you said into data context.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Evening. It's a pleasure. It's. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're echoing.
There's an echo though, brother.
Okay. 1 second. What about now? Now?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Right.
Yeah, the echo's still there.
I think the ancestors are following you.
Oh yeah, if you got a phone, if you got your phone and just if
you're on your phone watching, turn it off because you were a guest before. So yeah, turn that off.
Oh yeah, 1 second.
That's better.
That's what it is. Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, we're good. We can hear you now.
Okay, that's better.
That's better.
Yeah, so I think
Oh, it's still there.
it's still there, right?
Yeah.
1 second.
Mama Khanyisile, while Brother Babajide goes on.
Bear with me.
Where does Boko Haram get its ammunition? Let's talk about that. Arms and ammunition. Let's talk about this thing that all of a sudden the United States cares about Christians all of a sudden when they're not we're supposed to be separating church and state. All of a sudden, the state is meddling in religious and church affairs. Please talk about this.
Yeah, and we got, sorry, Mama K, before you go, for those of us who are followers on LinkedIn, and you know my stand on this, Mama K is going to go break it down anyway, but my stand has always been, we do not need the external interference in our affairs because whenever they come in, you know exactly what's going to happen. Examples, Libya. Examples, Iraq. Examples, in Congo. Look at what's going on in Sudan. The interference, the
Palestine.
Yeah, Palestine.
And this is pervert in general.
Yeah.
Calling Christian, like this is literally the devil telling you about Christianity. The devil in your Bible.
Yeah, imagine somebody who cares about Christians. Look at the person who's talking that. And doesn't it ring a bell when in our brains, Africans? Is that Christianity? Anyway, Mama K.
Let's just start by saying Congo, the empire with a K, included both the Congos, parts of Gabon, parts of Angola. It was a very big empire. When the Italians came and Portuguese, I think, followed after, when they came to sort of convert them to Christianity, Catholicism at the time, the royal family is the one that converted first before everyone, and then sent its best within the royal family to go and study in Italy, study Catholicism. It was either Italy or Portugal. You can check it. Why did they do that? In their warped sense of existence, Oladele, they thought that if we convert to the same faith like them, they will see us as equal and not do to us what we hear they have done to the surrounding nations. Big mistake. So Trump, I don't even know what to call what he's saying, because the conversion of our people to Christianity did not stop them being enslaved.
Nope.
Didn't stop colonization. Slaves on the plantation were still whipped, raped, and everything done to them. And on a Sunday, still expected to come and pray to the same God with the same rapists and the same crackers.
Cognitive dissonance, man. It's amazing.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not even gonna go to Boko Haram.
Menticide, my brother. Menticide. Go on, brother.
But an important question you asked was, where do they get their weapons? There is something called the military-industrial complex. The war is business, just like insurance, just like minerals, just like manufacturing, it's business. There's not a single African company which is part of the military-industrial complex. These companies are predominantly Western Europe. I remind you again, we said Western Europe is your, traditionally West. What do we mean when we say West? It's Western Europe, traditionally, geographically. And then, if you don't know, go look at your map. And then it is North America, which is USA and Canada. Then it's Australia, it's New Zealand, predominantly.
Israel as well is a big manufacturer.
Yeah. Now they grafted in. That's how I was going. So as it progressed, they were grafting in countries. Israel, that's why they are so cheeky, and they refuse to accept that they are a nuclear state, and we know they are. That's why they've become so cheeky, because they're now part of the military-industrial complex. So wherever there is a war in Africa, please understand, it's not just our people dying. It's not just our economy suffering. It is making rich part of those companies who are selling those particular arms and ammunition in the military-industrial complex. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
It's business for those of you who support
also just ask respectfully that after our brother Babajide finishes, we can please come to a close.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We're on track. I love that, sis.
So thank you for the opportunity.
Oh. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, please.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I think there was something a doctor, alluded to, earlier on, I think when she mentioned the OECD and the implications of their involvement in a lot of the things going on in Africa, etc., etc. Now, what I like to do is to put numbers on top of some of these consequences. And as you were speaking, based on numbers that I had calculated earlier on in the week around, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of the issues around flights in Africa. Some countries you have to fly into Europe before you come back into Africa. So I think there was a gentleman that posted something about that on LinkedIn, and I just went back to him and said, look, you can see how sparsely populated the airspace in Africa is, And if you amortize that across, the years, for example, since 1960, you'll be looking at a total loss to the African economy in excess of $100 trillion easily.
What?
Yes,
What?
100. Yes, I'm telling you, and I can back it up. That's just an estimate. So you now bringing in.
My husband is saying behind me, he's correct. He's correct.
Okay, well, there you go. So you now bringing in the OECD perspective. In the comment section there, I put in I took that figure from 100 trillion up to 500 trillion easily. Yeah. And why do I say that? Because what you mentioned about the OECD has unintended consequences all over it. And what are those unintended consequences? Impact on healthcare, impact on education, impact on civil service, impact on almost every single thing every single thing that touches an African's life is what you touched on there. Yeah. That then takes me to our own I mean, all due respect to her, she's the World Trade Organization chair. Okonjo-Iweala. It then begs the question: what has she really done for Africa, or what is she doing?
She can't do nothing. She's a mission manager.
She cannot do anything. I mean, people celebrate, all these
appointments
and all, but what have they really done for Africa? They haven't done anything, and they cannot do anything.
They can't.
Recently she was at one of the African events. They asked her questions around, what Tinubu should be doing for the African economy or for the Nigerian economy, etc., etc. He can't do anything.
No.
There's nothing he can do.
He can step down.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, let's bring
What
him.
He can step down and go die somewhere nicely, like old age.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what he can do for Africa.
We can change the landscape such that people who are Afrocentric in their thinking can come and present
Exactly.
What can work for Africa, and go to that table with how would I put it, with an open book and say, look, we want to drive Africa forward from our perspective now. And I think we are getting there, but like Doctor mentioned or alluded to earlier as well, you can just summarize that the African Union is missing in action. They're just absent, completely absent. And until we can try and fix that, I don't think we're going to have, a very, very good understanding around, the value that we're losing and what Africa is actually missing. Because I've looked at a lot of, economists across Africa, across Nigeria, and I'd mentioned this before, in my previous showing on this podcast, that we are still unable to value what we have. And as long as we continue along that path because we can't value. So, okay, this is the example I give, right? In the last 30 to 35 years, someone in Wall Street in the US came up with what is now very, very commonplace within the Wall Street space called derivatives. Okay? There's everybody trades derivatives on Wall Street. Okay? Yes, money. But who designed it? It was a human being that designed it, right? Some lady and her team in one of the top banks, there's a video on YouTube about it, designed these derivatives. They were the first to do it, right? Then you've also got what you call, I forgot, what's it called now? This new trading style, algorithmic trading. Yeah, that also was designed by someone in Wall Street. Where am I going? Where I'm going is, what have we actually designed for ourselves? What have we designed for ourselves? We haven't designed anything. Everything we're using is by their design.
The Caucasians' interests.
Yes. And until that changes, until someone beside Ramaphosa, Tinubu, Traore sits down and says, okay, you know what? We now want to design our own derivative, or we want to design our own hedge fund, or whatever it
Measure
is.
of exchange.
Measure of exchange, whatever it is. As long as it's ours, we should be able to make mistakes with it,
Exactly.
you know, learn from the mistakes and develop forward.
Building. Yeah.
But we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And as long as you're using those things that are designed by guys behind closed doors,
By our oppressors.
you can't win. Yes, you cannot win. That's just the truth.
Thank you.
You know, with just to wrap up.
Yeah.
I figured out that the World Bank, IMF is very, very much embedded within the Nigerian government. You know, you can see footprints of that. They come up every now and then and say, oh yeah, we've had this meeting with the World Bank. World Bank will come and say, oh yeah, we're releasing this report, etc., etc. No, as long as that continues to happen, you know, I don't see any prospects for Nigeria. And it will then go back to, you know, your OECD analysis, where it's just going to be value loss upon value loss. And that's the inevitable truth of Africa.
Asante.
Thank you, Babajide.
Looking forward to talking to you next week.
Babajide is coming on next week to basically go into the losses that we're incurring. It's going to go into detail that, and hopefully
add what Mama Khanyisile said to your work next week. Yes,
I will.
And hopefully, for those who are listening, we're going to have a Nigerian special advisor coming on. Hopefully, he comes. I'm putting it out there. He said he's coming. So hopefully, he can come and answer the question in terms of new tax reforms that's going to happen in Nigeria from the 1st of January. So Babajide, we'll see you next week, Thomas.
Thank you.
Asante.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, and thank you for those calculations. They make a difference.
You're welcome.
And truly, from my side, because I travel the continent so much, I can tell you that it's easier to fly from South Africa to London, from South Africa to Germany, from South Africa to Italy than it is for me to try and fly from where I'm still trying to do it. To fly from here to Sao Tome and Principe, or to Guinea-Bissau, or to Cabo Verde, and you have to change like 4 flights, or you have to fly out of the continent. You must fly to the Gulf states. You must fly via Emirates to Dubai.
I mean,
to
just
fly into West Africa.
Put that into numbers. You put that into numbers. It's a huge loss. A huge loss. All across that pathway. Anyway, it's a pleasure. And well done. I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, cheers.
And for those who don't like, if you're not seeing how to connect that with numbers, it's the gas that is being spent.
Yes.
So if you have one line to Cote d'Ivoire, it's less gas than 4 lines here, 4 flights, right?
Yeah,
the staff that is being paid in the different flights. The
pilots. So there's one bit that I must, add to this, please, which is the foreign currency element. Now, that by the time I add that on, I don't think you want to believe the figures.
No, add that on to next week's conversation.
Well, we can do that next week, bro. Just
I'll do that in the next week, but it's going to be in excess of that 500 trillion.
That's okay. Let's hear the numbers.
But also the airspace. Remember that if I'm flying via Dubai, I'm using the airspace of United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, you got to pay all. You got to pay all that. Then you've also
tolls.
Tolls. You've got to also take into account the time. So the time that the flyer is losing is also money.
Valuable.
So that's the cost.
Talk to me about it. It is more tiring for me to fly to Cabo Verde from South Africa than it is for me to fly to London, a different country.
So do you know how many people may have even fallen ill or even died all these
the flight
transactions? Yes, you don't know. And these are all costs that we don't measure.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you,
You're
brother.
welcome.
See you next week. Be well.
See you next week.
See ya.
Mama
Okay,
Khanyisile.
Mama K, conclusion for us, please.
I think my parting shot would be what we just talked about of the airspace. People must go and listen to Colonel President Muammar Gaddafi's last speech to the United Nations General Assembly. His opening remark is, why must we fly so far from Africa to New York to attend this meeting when other people are advantaged? We sit in this meeting jet-lagged, the time zone is not even the same, we are tired, but important decisions are being made here and deliberations. He asked the question. And I looked at African leaders present in that meeting, looking at him like, look at this clown asking a question that is so obvious. Of course, we must fly here because this is where the HQ of the UN is. Said who? Why can't the HQ of the UN move to Bujumbura? Who said it can't?
Apparently, it's moving to Nairobi.
Yeah.
But that's not a good thing that it's moving to Nairobi. It's not. When the oppressor gives you, they're not giving you. They're
Of
taking
course.
more than they're giving you. So never.
But also they have evaluated you and they know that there will be no difference between it being in Nairobi and it being in New York.
Absolutely.
Meaning
Actually,
they've concluded there's zero Pan-Africanism there. We'll still get our way.
Exactly.
Why don't they move it to Wakaduku? Why don't they move it to Wakaduku?
Exactly. And to the Kenyan people, that means you must rise beyond Ruto and his. And by the way, anyway, a conversation for another day. I'll see you all Kenyan people in the spaces.
Yes. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. To conclude, when we say transformation, I've changed that word because that's what's being used by NGOs out there. I want the revolutionizing of the global financial and political architecture, because revolutionizing means we abolish all the side shows or the lobby groups. We also abolish the United Nations Security Council and we bring everything to the General Assembly. But it also means Africa in that General Assembly works as one, just like a very well-oiled machine. It shouldn't even be seen as 54 countries. It might be seen as one, that the global South works together and is seen as one. How are we dominated by Europe, guys? Do you know how many countries are in Europe? That's why they're fighting so much to get all those Eastern European countries to beef up their numbers. So I think at that, thank you so much for the platform. Blessings, blessings, blessings. And
Sis, before you go, the usual tradition, before you go, we got a question for you. Okay. What would be the ideal image of Africa that you have conceived in your spirits?
An ideal image of Africa that I've conceived in my spirit would be to change the shape of how it is given to us right now. Because if you sit in a restaurant in Juba, which is the south of Sudan, and you look at the Nile, it flows up to Khartoum all the way to Egypt to pour at the sea. I find that geographically disturbing because rivers don't flow up, they flow down. So I would change first the size, because we are made to look smaller. The size of Africa should be the actual size, and the size of Europe should reduce drastically. They are not that big. I mean, Belgium is almost the size of Soweto, maybe slightly more, but okay, I always say Soweto. So I would reduce that to the actual size. I would enlarge Africa to its actual size so people can start thinking that they are small, so they can see how big they are and how endowed we are with land. And then I would change how we sit also, because the way we are sitting does not make geographic sense. The river Nile cannot flow up. It just doesn't make sense.
Wow.
The things we have accepted because the white man said so, right?
Wow.
Oh, I would also change some of these maps that show our countries with the colonizer. You know, when they say South Africa, they will show the British flag. Burundi, they will show
ban them.
France or Belgium flag. But no, I would abolish that entirely.
Make it a crime to do it.
Yeah, I would criminalize doing that. Why are we celebrating mediocrity and barbarism and theft and crime and rape?
I
Thanks.
I am with you, sister.
Okay. Finally, can we have a question for Babajide, because he's coming on next week? What would you like to ask him?
I would like to ask him how African economics as a course would be structured at a Pan-African or Afrocentric university.
Wow, that's a great one. That's a great one. He's the right man for that.
That's really good.
That's
Thank
brilliant.
you for that.
Brilliant. Yeah, you're on it. You're on it, sis. Thank you very much.
They are on it.
Thank you very much. We are on it. Okay, we are. Okay, guys. Thank you everybody for being part of this broadcast. Please follow Mama Khanyisile. She's on Twitter, she's on Facebook now. So there's gonna be more presence of her on social media because we're working on that. So keep following her. She's doing great work all across the continent. And thank you, my sister, for being part of our family.
To my brothers and sisters in South Africa, she's a South African who posts in Kubuntu, Kiswahili. So yeah, just she puts me to shame. Go on.
Okay, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Don't miss what's coming next week. We're gonna put the figures together, so please stay tuned.
See you next week.
Yeah, next week. Thank you.
Tuning in.
Thank you.
Yeah.